The revolver trembled in his hand, the barrel inches from the man's chest. "Take me," the stranger rasped, eyes wide and unblinking. "Just don't kill me." Eli Mercer's finger tightened on the trigger, his breath ragged in the cold night air. The campfire between them crackled, casting long shadows across the barren clearing. A coyote howled in the distance, the sound lonely and sharp. Eli could feel the sweat rolling down his back despite the chill. This was the man he had been hunting for months, the one who had left Eli's brother bleeding in the dust outside of Laramie. Now he had him, alone, unarmed, and for the first time since he'd set out on this path, Eli wasn't sure if he could pull the trigger. 2 weeks earlier, Eli had been just another ranch hand in Dakota Territory. Quiet, hardworking, keeping to himself. The world had grown small since his brother's death. Every day the same dull ache of grief. Folks in town called him a good man, but they didn't know the storm boiling inside him. They didn't see him at night, sitting by a cold hearth, turning the same words over in his head. "You should have been there. You should have stopped it." His brother Samuel had been everything Eli wasn't. Loud, warm, always quick with a grin. But he'd crossed the wrong man, a drifter named Cole Maddox. Maddox had shot Samuel over a hand of cards and a debt not worth the bullets. Then he'd vanished. No trial, no justice, just an empty grave. So Eli had sold his horse, quit his job, and taken up Maddox's trail with nothing but a Colt on his hip and a single promise carved deep into his heart. He would find the man who killed his brother, and he would end him. The trail led him across barren prairies, through saloons thick with smoke and lies, past men too scared or too mean to tell the truth. But bit by bit, Eli pieced it together. Maddox had joined up with a band of petty outlaws, drifting from camp to camp, running whiskey and stolen cattle through the territories. Eli followed, always a few days behind, always hungry, always alone. Until that night, when the firelight finally lit up Maddox's gaunt face, and Eli Mercer stepped out of the dark with his gun drawn. "You don't want to do this," Maddox whispered, his hands slowly lifting. "I'm not worth it." Eli's voice was flat, hollow. "You killed my brother." Maddox's lips trembled. "It was a game. I didn't mean." "Say his name." Maddox blinked. "Say his name." Maddox swallowed hard. "Samuel." The word twisted in Eli's gut like a knife. His finger tightened on the trigger. And then, somewhere deep in the pines, a twig snapped. Eli turned his head, just for a heartbeat. But that was all it took for the world to change. Because Eli Mercer was about to learn that killing a man was never the end of a story. It was only the beginning. Eli spun toward the sound, revolver steady now. Out of the shadows stepped a young woman, no older than 20, her dress torn and dusty from travel. She held her hands up, palms open. "Please," she said softly. "Don't shoot him." Maddox's eyes widened. "Annie, get back." Eli's jaw tightened. "She with you." "She's my sister," Maddox croaked. The girl, Annie, stepped closer, slow and careful like someone approaching a wild animal. "He's done terrible things," she said, voice trembling. "I know, but he's all I've got left." Eli's grip on the gun didn't loosen. "He murdered my brother. Put him in the ground over a hand of cards." Annie's eyes glistened. "And killin' him'll bring your brother back?" The words cut deep. Eli's mind flashed with Samuel's grin, the way his laugh used to fill a room. He could almost hear his brother saying his name the way no one else did, soft, full of trust. But Samuel was gone, and Maddox, gaunt, filthy, his hands trembling, looked less like the monster Eli had hunted and more like a man who had been running from himself just as long. Behind Eli, the brush rustled again. 3 riders emerged from the treeline, rough men with rifles across their saddles. Maddox's gang. "Well, look at this," one of them drawled, grinning. Mercer finally caught up. Eli didn't flinch. "Not looking for trouble with you boys. Just the one who killed my kin." The men exchanged glances, hands brushing their rifles. "Then you're in the wrong camp, friend," another said. "We don't give up our own." Eli felt the odds shifting, the air tightening like a noose. He could kill Maddox here and now, but the second he pulled the trigger, the gang would gun him down. And Annie, still standing between them, would be the first to scream. For a long moment, no one moved. Then Annie stepped forward until she was just inches from the barrel of Eli's gun. Her voice was soft but steady. "If you've got to shoot, then shoot me too. Because I won't let you take the only family I have left." Eli stared at her, the firelight flickering in her eyes. The gun in his hand felt heavier than iron. He thought about the grave he'd dug with his own hands, the nights he'd spent alone on the trail, the cold ache of vengeance that had hollowed him out. And for the first time in months, he wondered what Samuel would say if he could see him now. Would he want this? Or would he tell Eli to lay it down before it swallowed him whole? The riders watched in tense silence. Eli's hand began to shake, and slowly he lowered the gun. The riders shifted uneasily as Eli holstered his revolver. Burke, the tallest of the gang, with a jagged scar across his chin, stepped forward. "Look at that," he sneered. "The man's lost his nerve." Eli's eyes flicked to him. "I didn't come for you, but if you want trouble, I'll oblige." Burke studied him, lips curling into a half-grin. "You think you walk away now?" After pointing a gun at Maddox. Annie stepped between them, her arms spread slightly as if her small frame could shield both men. "Please," she said, voice firm despite the tremor in it. "No more blood tonight." The gang glanced at one another. Eli could see the greed in their faces. They could kill him, take his horse, his gear. Out here, no law would ever come looking. But Burke only smirked. "Fine. Ride, Mercer. But next time we see you, don't expect mercy." Eli nodded once. "Next time, I won't be the one begging for it." He stepped back, never turning his back to them, and mounted his horse. Annie's eyes followed him, wide and unblinking. "You don't have to go," she said quietly. Eli met her gaze. "Yeah, I do." He rode off into the darkness, the night swallowing him up. But peace didn't follow. Word of Eli Mercer's hunt, and his failure to finish it, spread fast in the frontier towns. Some called him weak, others wise. Eli kept to himself, drifting from job to job, but Maddox's face haunted him in every campfire shadow. And though he'd spared the man's life, trouble had a way of finding those who carried unfinished business. Because vengeance wasn't something you could simply put down. And soon, Eli would learn that mercy had its own price. Weeks passed. Eli took odd jobs, mending fences, hauling freight. But every night he woke in a cold sweat, Samuel's face flashing before his eyes. Mercy hadn't brought him peace. One evening, in a quiet saloon on the edge of Deadwood, the door opened. Annie stepped in. Dust clung to her dress, her hair pulled back with a frayed ribbon. She spotted him instantly and crossed the room. "You didn't kill him," she said softly, sliding into the chair across from him. Eli stared at his glass. "No, didn't mean I forgave him." "He ain't the same man," she said. "He's sober now, working for a rancher outside of Cheyenne. Tries to make right, best he can." Eli let out a bitter laugh. "And that's supposed to fix it?" Annie's eyes didn't waver. "No, but maybe it means he ain't past saving." They sat in silence, the din of the saloon fading around them. "My brother used to say," Annie murmured, "that every man deserves one chance to do better. Just one." Eli looked at her, really looked, saw the same steel in her eyes that Samuel once had. "You're asking me to let it go." "I'm asking you," she said, voice trembling, "not to let vengeance be the only thing you are." Eli's throat tightened. Outside, the wind picked up, carrying the faint sound of approaching hooves. Through the saloon window, Eli saw Burke and two others dismounting, rifles in hand. Annie followed his gaze, her face going pale. "They came for him," Eli said grimly. "No," Annie whispered. "They came for you." Burke pushed through the door, eyes glinting. "Mercer, looks like tonight we finish what you couldn't." Eli rose slowly, his hand hovering near his holster. But this time, there was no hate in his eyes. Only the steady resolve of a man who finally understood what was worth killing for, and what wasn't. Burke's boots thudded on the saloon floor as he stepped closer, his rifle loose in one hand. His two men flanked him, sneering. "You had your chance, Mercer," Burke growled. "Could have killed Maddox. Could have ended it. But you didn't. That makes you weak, and weak men die easy." Eli's fingers hovered near his Colt, but his voice stayed calm. "I ain't weak. Just done lettin' vengeance own me." Burke laughed. "Then you're already dead." The room was silent except for the creak of the swinging doors. The first shot cracked like thunder. Burke stumbled back, eyes wide, a red bloom spreading across his shirt. His rifle clattered to the floor. Smoke curled from Eli's revolver as the other two men fumbled for their guns. A second shot, then a third. When the echo died, Burke and his men lay still on the saloon floor. Eli lowered the gun slowly, his hand steady for the first time in months. Annie stared at him, breathless. You didn't have to. They weren't leaving me alive," Eli said quietly. "And if I'd waited, you'd be on the floor too." She swallowed hard, nodding once. "You go to him," Eli said. "Your brother. Make sure he keeps trying to be better. Don't waste the chance I gave him." Annie's eyes shone with tears, but she managed a whisper. "What about you?" Eli holstered the Colt, his face unreadable. "Me? I think I'm done hunting men." Weeks later, word spread of a quiet drifter who'd saved a rancher's life in Cheyenne by warning him of Burke's gang before they struck. No one knew where Eli Mercer went after that, only that he left behind his gun and his name, disappearing into the vast frontier like a ghost. And sometimes, when Annie told the story to her children years later, she'd end it the same way every time. He spared a killer, and in doing so, saved himself. Because in the Old West, justice was rare. But mercy was rarer still.